Trust doesn't shatter with sound, it dissolves in silence, in the shift of a glance, in a promise left unanswered, in the absence of what once felt safe. Bonhoeffer understood how fragile it truly is. At first you explain it away. You make yourself smaller to keep the peace. But the body knows. It braces. The heart folds inward. And fear moves in where openness once lived. This isn't weakness, it's memory. The soul learning not to bleed the same way twice. Yet even within the fear, the longing for trust doesn't die. It waits, softly, and when met with presence, steady, quiet, true, it begins piece by piece to unfold again. As we embark on a gentle exploration, imagine trust as a delicate thread, intricately woven into the fabric of our being. It is the unseen foundation that supports our deepest interactions and perceptions of the world. We begin our journey by delving into the birthplace of trust, a sanctuary found in the innocence of our earliest moments, where vulnerability and trust intertwine. Trust is not a lesson taught with words like arithmetic. Rather, it is a silent experience, felt long before articulation. It takes root in the embrace of vulnerability, nurtured by the quiet spaces between a parent's breath and the warm gaze of a caregiver. In the tender cradle of infancy, trust forms without us knowing. A newborn gazes up, cradled in warmth, learning the rhythm of trust through the steady beat of a heart or the soothing melody of a voice. This primal understanding emerges not through language, but through the security offered by the gentle hands that hold us. It is in these quiet, consistent acts where trust begins to whisper that the world beyond our cocoon is a place of engagement and safety. Trust is not a conscious thought. It dwells within us, a silent assurance that we are held and therefore safe. These formative experiences imprint deeply, guiding how we approach the world and interact with others. As infants, our minds soak up nuances of care, seeding beliefs about self-worth and security. This foundational understanding echoes through our lives, silently underpinning our capacity to open ourselves to the complexities of existence. Through the non-verbal communication of gentle touches and soothing presence, we learn unconsciously that we are deserving of love and care, laying the groundwork for the rich emotional bonds we form as we grow. As we journey from the simplicity of early childhood into the layered experiences of adolescence and beyond, trust matures into an ever-evolving narrative. It expands beyond the familiarity of early relationships into the broader tapestry of human connection. The playground of friendships and early social interactions stretch trust's boundaries, testing and redefining it. Each moment, a piece of the mosaic that builds our understanding of loyalty, authenticity, and reliability. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, yet it is here that true strength resides, the courage to be seen in our most authentic form. When we embrace vulnerability, we unknowingly embrace its companion, trust. This openness invites others into our intimate spaces, creating fertile ground for trust to flourish naturally. Trust thus becomes a shared journey, fostered through a willingness to reveal our fears and reciprocate the vulnerabilities of others. In this exchange, trust solidifies, not as a demand but as a sacred bond. In childhood's garden, trust is cultivated not by force but through gentle care. It is nurtured by consistent routines that comfort the young mind, such as bedtime stories and family rituals. These small yet powerful moments weave the threads of our earliest expectations of reality, establishing predictability and reliability as conduits for trust. Children absorb their world unguarded, and these experiences sculpt the basis of their emotional intelligence, their capacity to relate, empathise and rely on others. Trust then becomes the invisible architect of character, shaping emotional resilience and relational capacity. Trust's foundations in early life are instinctual, forming an internal compass that guides later interactions. This intuitive grasp of what safe connections feel like becomes foundational, informing ideals, relationships, and decisions. It evolves much like learning to walk, a natural skill, absorbed implicitly and essential for survival. Trust is akin to gravity, grounding all existence, shaping how we engage with the world. Rooted in the attunement of early relationships, trust blossoms into an intricate inner dialogue. Attunement, the resonance and understanding between caregiver and child, sets the stage for trust and empathy. Through closeness and responsiveness to a child's cries and joys, the framework for lifelong communication and trust is established. This resonance later shapes the internal conversations that guide how we interpret and navigate life's challenges, continuously reshaping our sense of trust. As we mature, trust moves beyond the basic need for safety. It becomes a commitment to openness, facilitating deep emotional bonds that encourage understanding beyond dependence. Trust invites engagement, compelling us to nurture it even as environments shift. It is an openness to shared experiences, acknowledging that even within vulnerability lies a strength that beckons connection. Trust weaves through our lives, guiding us from vulnerability's cradle to conscious choice. It transforms as we reflect on our connections and relationships, inviting us to experience humanity's rich tapestry. In acknowledging the secret growth within vulnerability, trust becomes a journey, an ongoing narrative that invites us back to these birthplaces that continually shape, enrich and guide us toward an open-hearted existence. In relationships, silence is often mistaken for peace, but it can be a quiet betrayal all its own. Picture a room where two people sit, no harsh words exchanged, no obvious tension, yet the air is thick with unspoken hurt. The absence of words in this space may seem gentle, but it can carve wounds as deep as any sharp fragment of speech. In critical moments, the sigh of a loved one's breath, the pause before speaking, when silence stands as a wall, doubt creeps into the mind of those who feel unseen. The need for solidarity and a voice resounds, but when met with silence, it becomes an unvoiced betrayal, recalling the despair of invisibility. This harm is not easily visible, it lies beneath the dependable veneer of what was once a secure bond. Silence, though seemingly passive, may imply complicity in injustice, pressing on the vulnerable spaces where support was expected. The absence of words, like a thief in the night, robs the peace crafted in softer times, leaving behind imagination and fear. The mind fills these empty spaces with narratives of uncertainty. Do they silently agree with my pain? Such silences are not voids but echoes that multiply insecurity and mistrust. They lack the closure that spoken words offer, leaving room for doubt to blossom. Emotional neglect, akin to silence, takes root without fanfare. It seeps stealthily into relationships, clad in misunderstanding or the guise of life's busyness. Unlike deceit or betrayal, which strike with loudness, neglect is insidious, spreading slowly. It's not a single shattering event, but a growing collection of missed glances and forgotten notes. It signals a dissolution of the attentive bond, turning trust's gentle ground into a fragile veneer. These quiet omissions signal to the neglected that their inner world is of little consequence, letting them drift into reflections of inadequacy and invisibility. Averted eyes speak volumes in silence. They deliver a quiet disapproval, an unspoken judgment that wounds deeply. In seeking understanding and solidarity, when one's gaze is met with another's avoidance, it feels like a door quietly shutting. The absence of a shared gaze builds barriers, suggesting one is unworthy of attention. In times of hurt or deep sharing, the failure to meet these eyes signals a withdrawal from the truth sharing meant to heal. It causes the heart to retreat, burying desire under layers of self-protection. Much like deceit, omissions wound deeply. Sometimes their hidden nature cuts the deepest. The betrayal of omission is poignant, as potent as any spoken lie. It materializes not through what is done, but through the inaction that cements invisibility. Expectation of truth and reliability crumbles when met with inaction, revealing the fracture lines in the relationship. Trust, woven with unmet promises, sees these threads unravel slowly, each pull exposing holes where reliability once rested. Promises, though, are the unseen threads that weave trust's delicate embroidery. The torn seam of a broken promise reverberates, questioning the integrity of those who falter. Unmet promises are not merely absences of action. They fracture the bond of commitment and spark doubt. Was it sincerity or convenience? The rupture of promise threads challenges the very foundation of trust tapestry. Each broken vow demands reflection, imploring a deeper exploration of reliability and authenticity in relationships. Hidden disapproval, left unspoken, acts as a silent saboteur. Judgment bubbles beneath the surface, unacknowledged but influential. Its pressure, like shadowy fingertips, steers the narrative of inadequacy. It stifles authenticity, making individuals question their steps and pull back when genuine expression is needed most. In this non-verbal dance of judgments, the heart seeks refuge, prompting introspection in search of validation, untethered from external bias. In critical moments when support is withheld, the foundation of assumed reliability shakes. Even unintentional, this silence turns the landscape of trust into one of precarious uncertainty. Each absence is an insistence on distance, refashioning relational hierarchies in invisible ink. It invites reflection on one's place within these delicate emotional webs, fostering an inward journey to reshape narratives of independence and self-reliance. The slow burn of indifference is a gentle betrayal. Initially veiled, it reveals itself through accumulated dismissals. Apathy replaces vibrant engagement, leaving a pallor of low regard in its place. Passionate pleas meet disinterest. Accomplishments greet silence. The slow burn ignites introspection, a questioning rooted deeply in self-worth and the broader significance of relational connections. This gentle betrayal inspires the search for spaces that vibrate with genuine presence, and where silence turns into meaningful dialogue. Finally, the quiet conspiracy in accepting injustice becomes more than personal. The betrayal echoes through shared humanity. Silence in the face of wrongs whispers validation to actions that fracture moral truth and fairness. This kind of silence becomes an accomplice to the very structures it ignores. Contemplating one's role in these silent endorsements prompts a re-evaluation. Trust then evolves into a bond not just personal, but communal, where active engagement seeds justice and resilience. In the end, silent betrayals challenge us to meet these shadows bravely. not as saboteurs of our peace, but as guides inviting us to understand trust as resilient, as a vivid tapestry woven both from what is said and what isn't, urging connections as robust as they are tender. In the quiet folds of our early experiences, innocence blooms like a fragile flower, trusting and untarnished. It's through this delicate lens that we first learn to trust the world, believing in the goodness of those around us. But when trust is shattered, it is like a cruel stone tearing through the silken fabric of our perceptions, leaving a wound that echoes with the jagged question of why. The moment of betrayal crashes upon us not as a mere event, but as a profound psychological upheaval, a tremor that unravels the very seams of reality. In the aftermath, we find ourselves questioning not just the trust we placed in others, but the very foundations of our own judgments and the safety we assumed would cradle us. For some, this undoing comes as a sudden violent storm, drenching the spirit in disbelief, anger, a fiery torrent of emotions crashing and receding. For others, it is a slow erosion, each drip akin to a realization that washes away the warmth of naivety, chilling everything to its core. This collapse is both brutal and transformative, forcing us into an involuntary confrontation with ourselves, a painful re-evaluation that redefines both our past interactions and all that we dare hope for the future. This transformation is not entirely without merit. While we may emerge with scars, we also carry with us new discernment, a more cautious approach to the connections we choose to nurture. This is an emotional reckoning where we sift through the detritus of disillusionment seeking understanding, learning from each jagged piece how and why we were deceived. Haunting us through this journey is memory, the ghostly reminder of trust that was once freely given. Memories drift through the passages of our mind, replayed in a desperate search for answers that logic has left unsatisfied. Each recollection drags with it former moments of shared laughter, trust and silent companionship, now soured by the bitter taste of betrayal. Unlike wounds of the flesh which bear healing with the passage of time, these psychological scars remain tender and resistant, beckoning us to confront but not allow them dominance. It is a delicate dance of acknowledging pain without permitting it to erect barriers that deny possibility and growth. This requires us to transform these memories, not into anchors that weigh us down, but into stepping stones that carry us forward into the renewal of trust. Amidst this, a tapestry of emotions unfurls, threads of anger, sadness, confusion, and grief intricately weave together in the heart's loom. Anger flares brightly, a fierce guardian demanding acknowledgement of the injustice faced, yet beneath its fiery presence lies a melancholy, mourning not just the severed bond, but the shattered illusions that once offered comfort. Confusion settles like fog as we grapple to make sense of dissonances where smiles once felt safe and sincere. Grief emerges, visiting in familiar stages like a bereavement of our lost innocence, a private mourning that demands solitude. In response, the psyche instinctively raises its defences, constructing walls meant to shield, but which also isolate, solidifying beliefs that vulnerability grounds the genesis of pain. Projection subtly distorts reality, casting our inner doubts onto others, while repression sinks distress into shadowy depths, waiting to resurface when least expected. These mechanisms, protective at first, soon hinder growth if left unexamined, like old armour that once protected but now weighs upon evolution. Healing calls for introspection, dismantling these defences gently, realising that vulnerability need not be weakness, but a portal to deeper connection. Betrayal often instigates a crisis in self-worth, converting trust's fracture into an unsettling mirror that reflects perceived inadequacies, asking relentlessly, "Why did I allow this?" Or, "Am I deserving?" It necessitates the tender unearthing of intrinsic self-worth through the lens of self-compassion and forgiveness. This journey is a spiral, not without its setbacks, revolving around the acceptance that imperfection does not equate to lack of value. Through reflective practices, one may find the sovereign self emerging, recognizing worth untethered from past hurt, an integral part of healing. Within healing, boundaries become sacred tools, demarcating where individual essence resides amidst shared spaces. They serve not as barricades impeding intimacy, but as guides curating environments where trust could flourish, informed by wisdom, maintained through balanced openness. By setting boundaries, we reclaim control over our narratives, fostering interactions that respect and nourish, enabling relationships that value honesty and autonomy simultaneously. Reframing betrayal as a catalyst unveils profound healing potential, transforming the experience from a stagnant betrayal into an engine of growth. It requires courage to see oneself as a co-creator in the dance of life, learning from shadows to cultivate resilience and an enriched capacity for connection. Such reframing embraces life's dual nature, not as an abandonment to pain, but as an embrace of its instructive embrace. Forgiveness, that oft misunderstood liberation, is the gentle art of releasing our emotional shackles, choosing not to forget, but to unburden ourselves from perpetuating resentment. It steers the journey inward, allowing healing unfettered by fixations over past transgressions. It is through letting go, through this courageous dissolution, that acceptance unlocks, leaving us ready to engage with life anew. The complexity of relationships, this intricate weave of seen and unseen threads, calls us to acknowledge them, to admire their depth beyond simplistic renderings. By appreciating this complexity, we foster genuine connections, bravely navigating the nuances of human interaction. Trust, reborn from innocence's fall, becomes an ever-evolving testament to the richness of life embraced fully, with wisdom in the heart and openness at the core. In the tender landscape of trust, the human spirit thrives, unfettered and unburdened by the shadows of fear. It is here, under the gentle embrace of vulnerability, that innocence dances, a state where the heart engages with the world in a pure embrace, untouched by the harsh edges of doubt. This sacred openness forms the soil where the seeds of trust take root, allowing the soul to connect deeply, forging bonds seasoned with understanding and love. Like a child who gazes upon the world with eyes wide and heart unguarded, we too begin our journey, believing in the inherent goodness of others, embracing each moment like a budding promise. Yet, this delicate tapestry of trust is vulnerable, often disrupted by the realities of human encounters. Betrayals, whether whispered or broadcasted by silence, cast a veil of mistrust that challenges our innocence. The transition from openness to guardedness is not abrupt but unfolds like a slow epiphany. A series of quiet realizations dismantle the naivety of unguarded hearts, replacing them with a quieter, more measured anticipation. The once gentle fields now become watchful terrains, innocence overshadowed by the slow emergence of caution. Underneath this caution, one finds the allure of armour, an unseen shield woven from threads of past hurts and protective instincts. Here, the heart crafts its defences. Cynicism, skepticism, the careful withholding of vulnerability. No longer does the heart roam free. Instead, it becomes a vigilant sentinel, acutely aware of every nuance, every shift in the behavioural winds. The armour, resilient and resolute, serves as a bastion against potential harm, allowing us to navigate life's complexities with a wary but discerning eye. Though this armour guards, it constrains, limiting the heart's natural capacity to love unreservedly and connect authentically. The world takes on muted hues of suspicion, where once there were vibrant landscapes of trust. Interactions risk becoming mere transactions, coloured with the shadows of hesitation. The challenge lies in negotiating this guarded state, ensuring it protects without imprisoning, that it shields without suffocating, the vibrant pulse of life-seeking connection. As we walk along the path of vigilance, a dance of attention plays out, a sharpened focus on every interaction, a careful assessment of every gesture. Body language, tone, and choice of words undergo scrutiny. As the heart patrols its boundaries with the diligence of a wary guardian. Yet, this vigilance, while protective, can be an exhausting endeavour, akin to a fire that consumes its own source of warmth. The constant alertness, while safeguarding, may inadvertently foster an isolation that traps the heart in its own echo chamber, missing opportunities for genuine connection. In the quest for protection, there's a compelling urge for control, a desire to curate every aspect of one's world, ensuring predictability and safety. The allure of control is potent, offering an illusion of command over life's unpredictabilities. By orchestrating every detail, the heart feels shielded from the chaos that once disrupted its innocent trusts. However, this need for control can fashion its own chains, limiting spontaneity and reducing life's flow to a series of calculated steps rather than a graceful dance. Relationships may constrict under this imposed rigidity, losing their organic vitality in the shadow of micromanagement. Suspicion, hushed and persistent, quietly seeps into everyday engagements. It is not loud but whispers continuously, casting an intricate web of doubt over interactions that might otherwise seem benign. The heart, once welcoming and open, now approaches with subdued skepticism, questioning motives and seeking hidden meanings behind the simplest of actions. Each smile is a puzzle, each gesture wrapped in layers of inquiry, not out of malice but from a cautious heart, wary of repeating past wounds. As trust dwindles, innocence, once radiant and untouched by the harshness of reality, carries the marks of experience. The heart gains a more sombre understanding of life's complexities, becoming acquainted with betrayal and the frailties of human promises. While this wisdom brings depth, it also ushers in a gentle mourning for the lost simplicity that once coloured our view of the world. But within this transition, resilience is nurtured, for with every experience comes a chance for growth, and with every scar, a reminder of a life richly lived. In this journey, a poignant dissonance resides, a dance between longing and fear. A part of the soul yearns to rekindle its open embrace, to trust freely and deeply once more. Yet the mind, ever vigilant, cautions against such vulnerability, reminding of past shadows. Healing lies not in choosing between these forces, but in gracefully acknowledging both, crafting a narrative where the past informs the present, where openness is renewed with wisdom, and where the heart, resilient as ever, chooses to trust amidst life's embrace of uncertainty. In every echo of distrust lingers a memory of a past wound, a reminder of trust once tendered and subsequently shattered. These shadows are more than mere remnants of memory. They resonate with life, haunting present encounters and casting them in hues of suspicion and uncertainty. Picture standing in a room filled with the distant music of a bygone era, faint yet undeniably resonant, brushing against the edges of modern moments. This is how the ghost of trust lost weaves its spectral presence, infusing itself delicately into instances otherwise untouched by doubt. This haunting manifests as a visceral tightness, a silent recoil when one draws too near, a baseless unease colouring a gesture meant in sincerity. For those scarred by betrayal, each hand extended in friendship seems to conceal hidden motives. Each smile appears as a potential mask. It is here that the past subtly inscribes itself upon the present, delicate, insidious and insistent, prompting the heart to retreat from even imagined threats. Once summoned, this ghost resists departure, yearning for acknowledgement and insight. Through its touch, broken trust erects invisible barriers, unseen walls, yet solid in their resolve, standing firm between souls yearning for connection. These barriers, forged from sorrow and cemented with fear, do not shield against tangible foes, but rather guard tender hearts from the spectre of renewed pain. Behind these walls, individuals find a hollow safety in solitude, exchanging the warmth of human connection for the chill of emotional distance. Yet this architecture of defence, created to protect, paradoxically confines. To bear it is to carry an invisible burden, forever on guard for any sign of deceit. Intimacy remains foreign, every step towards it tempered by potential heartbreak. Relationships strained under unseen mechanisms cling to suspicion rather than soar on trust's wings. Protective yet imprisoning, these barriers form chains from which the soul quietly seeks freedom. Mistrust itself is not merely a feeling, but a lingering shadow, walking silently beside those marked by betrayal. This shadow remains a constant whisper of caution, a murmur of doubt casting a long figure over budding relationships, painting them with shades of past deceptions. It distorts reality, turning innocuous gestures into perceived threats, sowing discord where seeds of trust might otherwise flourish. In this shadow, normal actions become perilous ventures, every promise scrutinised, every intention questioned, as if searching for flaws hidden beneath a seemingly pristine surface. However, this shadow's not an external foe. It springs from within, a manifestation of innermost fears fueled by echoes from past wounds. To live under its influence is to perceive the world through a lens clouded with memories of old betrayals, casting discomfort upon what could be comforting. In response to broken trust, many enshroud themselves in emotional armour, a stoic barrier meant to repel future wounds. Yet this armour, burdensome and heavy, creates a disconnect not only from others, but from one's own emotions. Intended as a shield, it becomes an impediment to life's joys and forming genuine bonds. The weight of this armour isolates, rendering intimacy a distant, unreachable dream. It protects while constricting, the wearer acutely aware of the sacrifice made in safety's pursuit. Living within its confines forgoes vulnerability, rendering intimacy elusive, ever on the outskirts of experiences. This paradox of protection, seeking safety, yet feeling none. The armour once a refuge, now a prison, leaves the soul yearning for the warmth of authentic connection. The fear of history repeating itself overwhelms those acquainted with betrayal. It infiltrates each interaction, shrouding it with doubt even when there is none. This dread urges retreat from engagement, encouraging avoidance over interaction. It nurtures a cautious stance on relationships, rendering every gesture subject to intense scrutiny. The past dominates, replayed not through actions but perception's taint, colouring each encounter with scepticism. Under this fear's sway, simple gestures become fraught with imagined danger. A slip of the tongue or momentary thoughtlessness appears as betrayal's herald, prompting bracing for hurt that may never come. The mind, repository of imagined scenarios, remains vigilant for treachery. This fear, a self-stoking fire, intensifies until it stifles potential trust. Cultivating intimacy amidst the ghost of past trust is delicate, akin to planting seeds in rocky soil, hopeful they will root despite arid conditions. These ghosts, while breeding hesitation, need not be adversaries. Instead, they remind us of wounds needing tenderness and resolution. By acknowledging their presence, we foster compassion toward ourselves and others, unveiling a deeper comprehension of our vulnerabilities. The journey to intimacy demands patience and courage. It invites trust gently, breath by breath, moment by moment, each act building on the last. With intention and respect, rocky soil transforms, potentially hosting genuine connection. In recognizing ghosts, awareness illuminates, allowing new narratives to emerge. Reimagining trust requires creativity and courage, inviting us to see it anew, free from past betrayals' chains. This re-envisioning calls for recognizing trust as a rich tapestry of vulnerability, discernment, patience, and mutual understanding. Trust, redefined, blossoms through shared experience and demonstrated reliability. It becomes a dynamic bond, an evolving journey of mutual storytelling. Here, trust transcends expectation, morphing into shared discovery, a celebration of healing and reconnection, even amidst old ghosts. To navigate trust's labyrinth is to embark on a transformative journey filled with clarity and doubt. A path rich in self-discovery and connection awaits those brave enough to face shadows and embrace light. Here, each choice shapes the journey, fostering deeper connections. Within this labyrinth, paths wind and dead ends teach resilience, while open spaces invite reflection. This journey isn't solitary. Fellow travellers walk parallel paths, each learning the terrain of their own trust labyrinths. Through choices, paths reveal insight, guiding to renewed trust at the heart of the maze. A journey not just out but through, to a centre enriched by understanding. In the quiet twilight of our existence, the human psyche reveals itself as a realm of contrasts, a delicate interplay of shadows and light. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, that unseen aspect of ourselves lurking beneath the known, whispering the secrets of our deepest truths. Within this landscape, a sacred dance unfolds between longing, the soul's yearning for warmth, connection, and the familiar embrace of belonging, and the protective armour born of past betrayals and pain. It is in these moments of vulnerability, under the starlit cloak of solitude, that we realise how this armour, though meant to shield, often stands as a barrier to intimacy, a gatekeeper against our need for closeness. This duality is a gentle dance like the waltz of chaos and order in a moonlit garden. The heart's longing, full of dreams and whispers of the soul, calls us to life's fullness, urging a courageous embrace of its wonders. Yet our vigilant mind stands watch, reminding us of dangers and past wounds. Jung's insight into shadow integration encourages us to acknowledge these fears, transforming them into a compass guiding us forward. As we cultivate this awareness, we step lightly into vulnerability, allowing our psyche to harmonise and flourish in its full, radiant symphony. In this dance, we encounter the vast chasm between fear and love, a profound paradox in the human story. Love, that intoxicating force, is the pinnacle of human expression, lighting the sky with creativity and connection, while fear stands guard, wary of betrayal, guarding our fragility with a watchful eye. This is the legacy of evolution, where trust was once entwined with survival, making fear a constant companion. Despite its guise as a protector, fear often constrains the flow of love, leaving us stranded between the safety of solitude and the fulfilling embrace of companionship. To bridge this divide requires courage, a journey of self-acceptance, and the grace to navigate emotions with discernment and openness. Our quest for safety often leads us to reflexive defences, responses rising from the unconscious, where shadows linger. These defences, born from pain and loss, operate in the background, influencing behaviour and maintaining balance. Yet they also exact a heavy toll, isolating us and constructing barriers that hinder genuine connection. Viktor Frankl's reflections remind us that human behaviour is guided not just by conscious choices, but by the scars of life's trials. Venturing beyond reflexive defences demands acknowledging their presence, questioning their necessity, and embracing the shadow work that leads us toward a more harmonious relationship with ourselves. This inner journey often evokes a nostalgia for connection, a yearning for the nurturing warmth of trust we knew in childhood. Our souls ache for the purity of genuine relationships, where authentic connection transcends the superficial. As Carl Rogers posited, our fundamental drive towards self-actualization flourishes through such trusting bonds. Yet returning to this openness calls for courage, to walk through the discomfort of vulnerability and to treat it not as weakness, but the bridge to profound human connection. Here, authentic relationships are forged, nurturing healing and growth, requiring us to relinquish past fears and embrace ourselves anew. Once bitten, we often take emotional detours, steering away from vulnerability into pathways of self-protection. These detours manifest as withdrawal, projections, or unrealistic expectations, all mechanisms that maintain the status quo without risk. However, they dull life's richness, trapping us in cycles of loneliness and unfulfilled longing. Awareness of these detours and confronting their pain anchor us, inviting transformation through self-awareness. Past hurts, examined with mindfulness, reveal truths about identity and the narratives we've created, leading us courageously back to the arms of love. These narratives, stories enriched with echoes of past interactions, shape how we perceive love and connection, becoming self-fulfilling cycles that enhance our protective walls. Nietzsche teaches us that our perspective, the lens through which we view life's events, can liberate or constrain us. This act of rewriting our stories invites a shift in perspective, reclaiming authorship of our desires and realities. As old narratives rooted in fear are replaced with courage and hope, we rewrite our interactions, weaving new tales of resilience and love. Vulnerability and resilience, in their intertwining dance, form a partnership where vulnerability begets authenticity and resilience fortifies the spirit. Brené Brown teaches us that vulnerability, far from weakness, is the birthplace of creativity and change. When fear no longer governs us, vulnerability becomes an invitation to deeper connections. Embracing this balance allows resilience to emerge not as armour, but as assurance, guiding us to step forward, knowing heartbreak will transform but not define us. Lastly, the alchemy of emotional mastery beckons us to transmute fear into an ally. Like the ancient art of turning lead into gold, we can transform fear into wisdom. Viktor Frankl's existential insights affirmed that suffering births meaning, empowering us to shift adversity into resilience and understanding. Mastering emotions involves mindfulness, accepting fear with curiosity, and embracing life's spectrum without judgment. Through practice, we learn to reframe narratives, cultivate compassion, and discard defences that no longer serve us. This inner alchemy enriches our relationships and opens untold depths of connection and love. In the quiet corridors of the human heart, trauma bonding emerges as a delicate snare, weaving its patterns of discord. It's an enigmatic attachment, born from early whispers of care, intertwined with echoes of fear. As the innocence of nurturing becomes laced with intermittent harm, an emotional tapestry of dependency takes form. The person hurt finds themselves seeking solace from the very source of pain, convincing themselves that the next fleeting touch might bring the warmth and acceptance they yearn for. Here the abuser becomes a warped reflection, an imperfect mirror in which love's purity is tainted by shadows. This tragic dance highlights a darker allegiance, not to those who heal but to those who confine. Memories of tenderness laced with quiet threats forge a bond mistakenly perceived as love. Misguided loyalty clouds judgment, producing an illusion where intensity is mistaken for sincerity, pain for authenticity. This entanglement is born not of weakness but of survival, a mistaken belief that by enduring pain, love may someday emerge. Recognizing this pattern becomes the initial act of liberation, untangling the distorted threads that bind perception. In the labyrinth of suffering, a deceptive sense of control takes root. The mind, in its attempt to order chaos, assumes that by decoding the hurtful whims of another, it might exert mastery over destiny. This adaptation, mistaken for strength, is but an illusion, a fragile shield against vulnerability's chill. Pain, seductive in its predictability, becomes a false anchor, confining the spirit within familiar confines. True power lies not in managing others' mercurial ways, but in embracing the uncertainty of self-discovery and healing. Personal evolution is the unraveling of these shackles, finding autonomy in self-love's quiet embrace. Within these tangled emotions, fear dons love's guise, entwining what should repel. Fearful that absence of threat equates to love's presence, the heart may mistake relief for affection. Controlling actions are misjudged as deep concern, overlooking the foundational tenets of love rooted in liberty and respect. In this mix, the mind and heart grapple with an unsettling reality, a dissonance where one walks on eggshells, bracing for an anticipated blow. Yet, understanding dawns slowly, as disentangling fear from love reveals a truth that real affection nurtures growth and freedom, not constraint. The familiar offers comfort even amid pain's embrace. In the cyclical rhythm of sorrow, humans find solace in the known, gravitating towards consistency despite its thorns. Painful relationships, laden with the ebb and flow of discord, seduce the soul with their predictable cadence. Here lies the challenge, to discern between genuine safety and the false refuge of predictability. Stepping into the unknown, though daunting, holds the promise of liberation, new patterns of connection that uplift rather than ensnare. A tantalizing narrative persists within wounded hearts, the myth of love's transformative power. The fantasy paints love as a beacon capable of reshaping the broken, a belief that suffering can cleanse and redeem. Yet this seductive illusion veils a deeper truth. Lasting change demands mutual effort, not solitary sacrifice. While love can indeed inspire, the work of transformation begins within, turning the gaze inward rather than outward. Liberation comes in recognizing one's worth, independent of another's chaos, a shift rooted in self-awareness and the courage to evolve beyond. Dysfunctional bonds weave a complicated dance of power and control. Within trauma, control masks as care, and power lingers beneath the surface of feigned assurance. The one controlled mistakes dominance for stability, unaware of autonomy's loss. Here, genuine interaction dissolves, leaving a shell where manipulation thrives. Reclaiming authentic power requires courage, fostering connections not rooted in domination, but in equity and mutual respect. Healthy relationships are edifices of trust, where liberation replaces control and interdependence blossoms. False security offers a seemingly protective embrace, an illusion awaiting in trauma's echo. Within its comforting facade lies a labyrinth, promising shelter but delivering entrapment. True liberation demands confronting this mirage, realizing that perceived comfort can limit more than shield. As layers of dependency dissolve, vulnerability shifts from a threat to a path toward true connection. Beyond these confines, new relationships await, transparent, genuine, and free from trauma's shadow. Pain, if viewed rightly, transforms into wisdom. This alchemy requires revisiting sorrow, not as a victim, but as one who seeks to understand. Within suffering lies a potential for enlightenment, enabling evolution beyond the burden of past wounds. Wisdom born from pain fosters empathy, expanding consciousness and nurturing resilience. This transformation, a testament to human strength, offers a guide to others on a similar journey to self-discovery and healing, a resilient testimony that from trials emerges clarity and power. To reclaim wholeness is a journey beyond misplaced loyalties, recognizing the confines imposed by past pains. It requires rewriting personal narratives, embracing intrinsic worth unbound by history. Liberation is an act of courage, revealing authenticity beneath layers of learned allegiance. Boundaries resonate with newfound sovereignty, heralding a return to self-respect. In this transcendence, connections shift from bitterness to empathy, seeking harmony beyond trauma's imprint, growing in compassion and understanding. The healing journey unfurls like an ancient scroll, slowly, deliberately. It celebrates moments of profound realization, reflecting on the echoes of past loyalties and emerging anew. Healing demands patience and openness, guiding one through meandering paths with gentle introspective exercises. It thrives in communities of trust, where shared vulnerability begets authenticity, nurturing collective and personal evolution. This is the path forward, a resilient tapestry woven from wisdom, a dance embracing the fullness of the human spirit's potential. In the quiet corners of the heart where echoes of past betrayals linger, the ruins of inner trust stand silent and imposing. These echoes, whispers of confusion and shadows of self-doubt, narrate tales of love lost and faith shattered. When trust is fractured, it leaves behind a landscape barren and desolate, where self-worth falters and abilities lose their clarity. Here, between instinct and intuition, a veil descends, casting every decision into hesitation and uncertainty. It is a twilight realm where the light of self-awareness struggles to break through the looming walls of silence and fear. Yet amid this wreckage, the journey toward rebuilding begins with the tender act of acknowledgement, a gentle whisper to oneself, recognizing the cost of trust once given, now withdrawn. This narrative unfolds with an exploration into dialogue with the self, a compassionate embrace of what once was. As a gardener tends to wilted blooms, so must one attend to the heart's whispers and the soul's murmurs, allowing them space to unfurl their truth. In this journey, the language of self-compassion becomes an essential companion. Many find it difficult to extend to themselves the kindness they offer others. Yet, the heart yearns for this kindness, transforming past failures into pathways for growth. It whispers gently that perfection need not be the destination, but the journey itself is enough. In nurturing this inner voice with affirmation and presence, harsh echoes of self-recrimination soften into gentle breezes of encouragement. Fragile and precious, this journey also demands the setting of boundaries. These sacred demarcations between self and world anchor one's needs and desires, providing a sanctuary for growth and resilience. Boundaries are drawn not from separation, but from self-respect, a declaration of where one's soul ends and another begins. For those whose trust has been broken, these lines may at first seem harsh, like walls instead of our shared circle, but embracing them as acts of self-care offers newfound peace. As boundaries are honoured, the path to inner dialogues opens, a labyrinth of thoughts and beliefs shaped by time and circumstance. It is a time for introspection, where old narratives are held to the light of truth and gently transformed. Through the art of writing or meditative contemplation, these dialogues reveal the hidden landscapes of the psyche, each word a step toward greater clarity and understanding. In these sacred conversations, inner fragments join, and a narrative of redemption and trust begins to weave itself anew. Embracing vulnerability with tenderness becomes a key beam of this revival. Often masked as a weakness, vulnerability is, in truth, the courageous acceptance of one's raw emotions. It invites honest connection within, allowing imperfections to breathe in the open air, free from the cloak of shame. Openness becomes a healing balm, softening the hardened defences around a heart yearning to trust its own strength. Rituals of reconnection offer anchor points along this journey, simple, deliberate acts imbued with meaning. They ground the soul in moments of reflection, lighting candles in the darkness to guide the weary heart. Whether through the script of gratitude or the silent dance of mindful movement, these rituals are gentle hands that lead the spirit home, reminding it of its own worth and resilience. Forgiveness, the most potent of transformations, releases the burdens that weigh heavily upon the heart. It is a gentle alchemy, not of forgetting, but of freeing the self from chains forged by past hurts. Forgiveness is an act of profound love, both to the self and to the journey travelled, making space for empathy and understanding to blossom where bitterness once held sway. This dance of acceptance and change moves with a rhythm all its own, a delicate negotiation of the self as it is and as it wishes to become. Acceptance offers grace to the present, while change calls forth the courage to navigate new landscapes. With each step, the soul embraces its imperfections and the promise of transformation, navigating life's path with a delicate balance of honour and hope. The practice of present moment awareness becomes the grounding force in this voyage, inviting the heart to dwell fully in the now. Past regrets and future anxieties melt away under its gentle embrace, leaving behind a serene space where clarity and intuition reign. With mindfulness as a guide, the inner world becomes a tapestry of vivid experiences, each moment a brushstroke in the painting of a richly authentic life. As this journey reaches its crescendo, inner harmony emerges from the tapestry of experiences, a seamless integration of self. Inner voices once fragmented now dance in unity, navigating the world with grace and fluidity. Here at the confluence of trust and compassion, the sacred promise of the self is fulfilled. In this sanctuary of wholeness, the trust rebuilt becomes a steadfast guide, leading the soul forward, ever onward, into the boundless expanse of its own unfolding story. Trust once shattered emerges anew only with deliberate tenderness. Like a river reborn from glaciers, trust must flow in slow currents, reflecting upon its own depths. In the shadow of past betrayals, we must redefine it, painting trust not as a return to naivety, but as a thoughtful promise to oneself and others. It is an act of courage, punctuated by the deliberate choice to weave new tapestries from frayed strands, to let one's heart unfurl with the spirit of cautious confidence, aware of the risks yet daring to feel the warmth of reliance once more. Within this exploration, trust unfurls a spectrum. It is not a mere leap, but a series of gentle steps that echo through each whisper, each gentle truth exchanged between souls. It blooms through patient presence, with each gesture, each nod of understanding becoming a brushstroke on this evolving canvas. Freed from binary expectations, trust becomes a vow, an intricate dance of vulnerability and strength, cast under the softened light of endless horizons. Boundaries stand as guardians in the delicate process, formidable yet kind, defining the sacred spaces where trust can take root. They are not fortresses of solitude, but gentle lines drawn in the sand of self-awareness, markers of the land where individuality flourishes alongside connection. Through boundaries, one weaves the threads of emotional safety, ensuring that trust is grounded upon mutual respect, where rivers meet without overwhelming their banks. The art of presence becomes a tool of transformation. To be fully present with another is to gift them the quiet promise of your whole being, untethered from whispers of yesterdays or tomorrows. In the softness of this moment, trust finds fertile soil, nourished by silent exchanges that speak louder than words. Presence requires mindfulness, where every breath is a reminder of life shared, every heartbeat a quiet drum in the symphony of being. The tapestry of trust is embroidered with reciprocity, a dance of mutuality where each step is met with a loving echo. It demands that both hands lift the veil of solitude, each holding an end of the cord that binds strangers into friends, lovers, and philosophers. In every interaction, reciprocity crafts an unspoken pact that both parties nurture with shared experiences and small kindnesses, transforming trust from a fragile hope into a steadfast reality. In the journey towards reconstruction, vulnerability often masquerades as fragility, yet it is the true alchemy of human connection. To unveil one's soul without defense is to invite the world to touch, to feel, to heal. Vulnerability, when coupled with discernment, becomes a bridge toward authentic encounters, allowing the courage to be seen and, more profoundly, to see. Communication, a sacred exchange, breathes life into trust. Through words, silence, and gestures, an unbreakable thread of clarity is woven. It is the medium through which misunderstandings fade, like morning mist, and truths stand radiant like the morning sun. In a dialogue anchored in empathy and openness, trust finds its voice, transforming the mundane into a chorus of shared understanding. From the past, echoes linger, casting shadows that can obscure trust's gentle rebirth. Yet through healing, we learn to honour these scars as tales of wisdom, not shackles of regret. The release comes not in forgetting, but in forgiving. allowing old wounds to close tenderly, leaving space for new stories to unfold with grace and hope unfettered by the weight of what was. Intuition, a subtle guide, whispers secrets in moments of quiet reflection. It reads the unexpressed, the energies exchanged in a glance or a touch, guiding us to discern paths of trust and cautious roads. By listening to its gentle nudges, we place trust with wisdom, crafting relations as harmonies of instinct and insight. This journey is not one of solitude, but a shared odyssey of mutual commitment. Trust is never solitary. It is born of the shared vows, nourished by the interconnectedness of human spirits. In cooperation, trust finds its strength, a communal effort where two souls walk the path, weaving their destinies into a shared adventure of rediscovery. Finally, we learn that trust is a timeless voyage. It awakens gradually, not through grand gestures, but through the ever-present hum of life shared quietly, resonating through corridors of time. Patience and openness cradle each step forward, even standing firm when tides of doubt seek to pull at its foundations. Like a melody carried by a gentle breeze, trust weaves deftly through time, finding solace in the heartbeats of those who dare to lean into the unknown, awakening again and again with every sunrise. In the quiet folds of our inner landscape, trust seems to whisper its perennial song. It is not a naive quest, but a testament to the enduring spirit that resides within. Imagine trust as a slender thread woven through the tapestry of life, connecting the shadows of past pain with the promise of new beginnings. Here, trust is not an erasure of hurt, but a conscious choice to honour the resilience that gently nudges us forward, like a sunbeam breaking through a fog-laden dawn. This quiet resilience isn't about burying the past. Instead, it's about allowing the gold of wisdom to fill our scars, transforming them into a masterpiece of survival and strength. This alchemical process bridges vulnerability and hope, urging us to embrace our fragility and wear it as a badge of courage. To trust again is to invite courage into quiet corners of our soul, where the bravest acts are often silent and understated. It doesn't demand grand gestures, but unfolds in the gentle decision to love, to find beauty in the stillness, and to meet fear as an old acquaintance. Envision courage not as a lack of fear, but as a lantern in the dark, a steady heart that acknowledges fear without bowing to it. By becoming intimate with fear, feeling its every contour and shadow, we strip it of its power to paralyze. It becomes instead a guide, a reminder of our humanity, hinting that even beneath the fear, a garden of potential waits to be tended. Trust, sculpted after betrayal, emerges as an art of conscious choice. Born from the ancient fires of experience, it asks us to look within, to question the beliefs we wear like cloaks. It's a deliberate dance of doubt and hope, threaded with our newfound clarity and depth. In this space, we rewrite our stories, not as victims, but as authors of empowerment, crafting narratives that honour our growth. Surrendering to this process calls for humility, accepting our missteps and failures as integral brushstrokes on the canvas of life. Through this, we liberate ourselves, choosing trust as a vessel of wisdom arising from the ashes of past trials. Reflecting on Bonhoeffer's life, we glimpse the transformative potential of faith amid adversity. His unwavering spirit, even in the darkest shadows of history, stands as a beacon of trust in humanity's inherent goodness. Bonhoeffer's legacy teaches us that faith does not shy away from reality. Instead, it boldly envisions a world warmed by justice and compassion. It is here, in the crucible of despair and hope, that trust finds a resurgence as an active resistance against surrendering to cynicism, inviting us to reimagine faith as a tapestry of purposeful action threaded with love and integrity. Forgiveness lies at the heart of trust's revival, a sublime act that frees us from the chains of resentment. By releasing the hold of past betrayals, we reclaim the emotional landscape where trust can gingerly take root. Forgiveness is the gift we give ourselves, a whisper of healing that turns bitterness into wisdom. Stepping into this transformative space, we engage with the promise of forgiveness, acknowledging its power to light a path through the shadows of hurt and into a garden of trust and growth. In fostering trust, resilience becomes our steadfast companion, enabling us to tread life's winding paths with both grace and strength. This inner fortitude invites us to greet unpredictability with a steady compass, responding to life not with knee-jerk reactions, but with measured reflection. Cultivating resilience requires a sustained exploration of our emotional landscapes, an act of self-inquiry, guided by mindfulness and tenderness. Through this alchemy, our resilience intertwines with wisdom, nurturing trust as an evolving process rather than a static destination. To trust anew is to embrace the mysteriously beautiful unknown, a sacred invitation to let go of certainties and open our hearts to life's divine unpredictability. It is not a surrender to chaos, but an alignment with the rhythm of the universe, greeting each moment with wonder and a willingness to be surprised. Here, trust thrives, not as blind faith, but as a dance with the unknown, inviting us to step boldly into the realms of creativity and intimacy. The unknown serves as a canvas, where the brush strokes of our hopes and dreams paint a horizon luminous with potential. Rituals of faith serve as sacred pillars, grounding us in the cycles of renewal. Whether through quiet reflection, mindful walks, or heartfelt journaling, these rituals gift us with the sacred stillness needed to nurture trust. They mark the sacred dance from fear to faith, acknowledging both the pain and the promise entwined in the heart of our journey. Engaging in these rituals allows us to weave the lessons of life into the very fabric of our being, crafting a sanctuary of trust and renewal. Lastly, trust finds its fullest expression in the embrace of community, a collective tapestry of shared stories and mutual respect. Here, trust blossoms through the synergy of diverse perspectives, growing stronger through the authentic exchange of vulnerability and empathy. As we nurture this communal trust, we find ourselves woven into the vast human narrative, a gentle reminder that in the quest for wholeness, we are never alone. This collective endeavour to build trust enriches our individual journeys, encouraging us to engage deeply with one another's truth. As this chapter draws to a close, envision the leap of trust renewed, a courageous embrace of vulnerability and connection, inviting you to glide on the wings of newfound understanding. This is not a renunciation of fear, but a celebration of life's dance, enriched by trust's gentle grace. As you embark on this enduring journey, let this sacred narrative guide you. If this video resonated with you, embrace this shared path by liking and subscribing, and continue to journey with us.